So the best way to move plates is bat to bat. So put a bat on the rim, lift it up, and then flip it over. So if you need to flip your plate over, that's always going to be the safest approach, so that we're not picking it up. Especially the larger plates. The smaller ones you can kind of be a little more willy-nilly with. But when we're trimming, you can flip it onto the bat that you plan on trimming it on. And then if you're using bat pins, you just drop this right down on the pins. The other advantage here is if you trim it a little too thin, you don't have to pick the plate up once it's already nice and thick. So to save time, I'm just going to throw a couple bat pins in there. The other way to fix the bat to the wheel is with a cookie, which you can absolutely do. But for bat pins, we're going to make sure there's no clay in these little threads. Hold the wing nut underneath to line it up. And drop the pin through and turn the pin until it's threaded, until it's finger tight, and then I push straight down on the pin and turn that wing nut to get it nice and snug. The other one. For trimming, it's not as imperative that the bat pins are really locked on there, because we're not going to be pushing on something attached to the wheel head as much, but it's still a good idea to get it snug. With throwing, you want to really clamp those things down. Anytime I put bat pins on, I always give it a little slow turn, just to make sure it doesn't hit the saddle. So when your plate covers up your pinholes, I find them with a finger and then come in this way to line them up. And then we just sort of fish. Don't forget to do this. So we want the foot to be right here, so that if you're like spearing a little potato that's on the side, if the foot's inside that, the plate's gonna flop. So what you can do is grab a set of calipers and measure end to end right across the middle. That way we're not doing any guesswork. Set those to the side. So this has got like a little undercut here, so you can kind of hang on to it this way, but I wouldn't recommend it if you don't have that undercut, or if your plate is at all soft. Put a little, we're not doing the suction cup method, but I still want a little water, so that's gonna help it stay put. It's gonna help those lugs grab on. There. Time getting these centered, you know? Plates take a lot of effort. It sucks to have a foot that's not totally centered. Alright. Teeny tiny lugs. Make sure you put these lugs nice and low. We don't want them sticking up super high because they might pop the trimming tool as they come around. Alright. Needle tool. So this is one instance where I really want to map out the foot ring. So we'll line that up and then check again. Yeah. All right, so our foot should be right around here. And then our inner foot can be nice and small. Do the inner foot there. All right. So we want to do this first. If you get this a little too thin and then suddenly you're pushing down on the center of the plate, it's going to want to bow. So for that, just come in with the corner of the trimming tool, trim that edge, and then right back to the center again. Remember, these were thick, so we can probably take a decent amount of clay off of here. One of the downsides of waiting until your plates are nice and dry is that you can't really rely on that spring method. So either take a minute to really feel how thick they were, or recheck with the needle tool. If you do recheck with the needle tool, make sure you compress that center back together. You know, we're letting them get pretty dry, so the likelihood that they'll be too dry to use the needle tool to punch through is fairly high. So in that case, we're just kind of trimming by feel. Okay, so before I forget, I'm gonna take this level down. Just take the whole inner foot down a little bit. That way it's not sitting up at the top with the outer foot. Alright. So what I'm gonna do is dig this corner in and then roll the tool and move out. So we dig it in like that, roll the tool. You can watch those ribbons change to the right side of the tool, and then we start moving. Alternatively, you can start in the middle area of the foot and work towards the inner foot, and then shift and work towards the outer foot. Make sure you take the time to clear those ribbons away. Cutting in, slow and steady. The wheel can really move quickly, but we want our hands to be light. You know, plates are delicate, so you don't want to put a lot of pressure on them. If you want to strip a lot of clay quickly, we come in with just the corner and really peel some of that clay out. With the corner, you can be a little more aggressive. And then we'll come back in with the flat of the tool and smooth it all down. Ideally, we want to see more height in the foot here than in the foot in there. It's tricky because you never know, if the floor is slanting up. So we just want to try and look at it from the side every now and then. Let me get this slightly narrower. Just like a little bump. Otherwise, it's more or less trimming as you know it. The hardest part of this is waiting until it's dry. I would recommend stopping a little early, picking the plate up, you flip it back to back, feel it, and then if it still feels heavy, trim more. Don't risk it. We're gonna risk it on this one now. For the outside, I just use the round side of the trimming tool and just come in pretty aggressive. That right in my shoe. So remembering what the inside looks like, I'm gonna trim down and then around the edge like that to mirror that mustard well. And then put in a nice little division here. Alright, does anybody have any questions about trimming plates?
When you go to remove this from the vat, do you wire under it again?
You shouldn't have to.
Shouldn't have to, okay.
If it has dried enough, it should pop right up.
Okay.
If it feels like it's still on there, you can wire through with the metal wire tool. Just again, get it up at hip height and pull across. If it feels like you're pulling and that wire is not cutting in that case, I would just let it dry because eventually it'll just pop.